Welcome back to Tickets to Travel, the business of travel experiences on our series, Fan Travel Stories. Today, we're diving into the phenomenon that's bigger than just music, bigger than just travel. It's a way of life. And guiding us on this journey is none other than Bernadette Joy, a personal finance consultant by day and by night, a full-blown K-pop superfan. Now, you might be asking, how does a money-savvy, goal-oriented finance expert become completely, unapologetically obsessed with an industry built on choreographed perfection, parasocial relationships, and concert tickets that require a small mortgage? Well, you're about to find out. Bernadette is 40 years old and proudly waving the K-pop flag, proving that fandom isn't just for teenagers hoarding light sticks and photo cards. She's not just a casual listener. We're talking deep dive, laminated list of biases, international travel for concert level of devotion. And today we're breaking down why she loves K-pop, the cultural experience surrounding it, and because this is a travel and ticketing podcast, the absolute chaos that is securing tickets and hotels for these events. Ever tried booking a hotel for a BTS concert weekend in Las Vegas, only to find out that the Link is somehow charging $600 a night? That's the Link Hotel. Or battled Ticketmaster dynamic pricing monsters, only to realize the obstructed view seats now cost more than an actual flight to Seoul? Bernadette knows that pain all too well. But beyond the logistical nightmares, we're also celebrating the magic of K-pop fandom, how it brings together people of all ages, cultures, and backgrounds. Whether it's gift-giving traditions at concerts, choreographed dance meetups in parking lots, or fans decoding hotel curtain patterns to pinpoint where their idols are staying, yes, that actually happens. K-pop is more than music. It's a global movement. So get ready, because it's today's episode. We'll learn what makes a true K-pop superfan tick, why travel is non-negotiable for the fandom, and of course, the wild ride of buying a concert ticket in this hyper-competitive, high-stakes world. And if you need a little help in the personal finance department, check out Bernadette's socials at Bernadette Joy and her book, Crush Your Money Goals, on Amazon.com. As always, keep it locked right here, because Tickets to Travel, Fan Travel Stories starts now. But we're here to talk about fans.
I know. I was talking to my friends this morning. They're like, where are you going? And I'm like, oh, I'm doing a podcast. Oh, they're like, oh, another interview for money stuff. I'm like, no, it's about K-pop. And
see, this is why we're doing it.
Yes.
Yeah. No, this is why we're doing it, because Tickets to Travel is essentially a B2B podcast, and there's really no outlet or any type of content that sort of focuses on the fan experience, which is a little odd considering every major entertainment company, even travel companies, have this initiative for superfans and how to make that experience a lot better. Mm-hmm. What was the first concert or just piece of media that maybe got you thinking about this particular, and I'm not saying it yet, but this particular set of content is what's going to make you a superfan?
I was always a music lover, but had spanned a lot of different genres growing up, and being Filipino American, there was not that much representation, but I grew up first listening to Broadway and Disney because of Lea Salonga.
Right.
And I was
you're
a big
bringing
fan.
it back for me a little
Yes.
bit. Okay.
And I grew up in New York City, so I was a big fan of live music, live theater always because of Lea Salonga. And then, of course, I grew up in the 90s and early 2000s. So my first fan experience as a concert, I just talked about this with a friend yesterday, was Linkin Park, Snoop Dogg, and Korn.
Oh,
all in the same concert.
What a show.
Yes. They were the headliners.
But what a show for you to start off with.
Yes.
Snoop Dogg was there too?
Was riding a little tricycle around, just smoking stuff and like riding around on a tricycle.
It's the Up in Smoke tour.
Yeah. No, it was, oh gosh, I think it was the Warp Tour, or like it was like one of those, like it was a festival, and it was out in Long Island. And so it was a 2-day festival.
Jones Beach
Theater.
Okay. From that moment on, you listened to a bunch of music, but we're really here to talk about K-pop.
Yes.
So when did that transition happen for you as a fan?
So here's the interesting thing. I grew up in Queens.
Yeah.
I grew up around a lot of Korean Americans, interestingly, but I was kind of bullied in middle school for not being like Asian enough because I hung out with mostly the white kids. But there was this contingent of Korean American kids who all had the pictures of the original K-pop HOT on their binders. And this is a time when everyone had like the really long bangs and like the mushroom cuts and stuff. And so I knew about K-pop when I was in middle school, but I didn't really become a fan until I was an adult. And so 7 years ago or so is when I became a K-pop fan.
So when we were setting this up, you were very clear in that there are different generations of K-pop. And for those who are novices in this particular genre, what are these different levels?
There is, going back to the 90s where HOT was the originator, I think the first group in K-pop to have like a big fan base. Like that. So they're Gen 1. I'm actually, even though I wasn't listening to them at the time that they were like at their height, I'm a Gen 2 fan, which is, and also because it's more of my age, I just turned 40 and they're closer to my favorite groups from there are 2PM and SHINee. And 2PM in particular, I became a really big fan of them because one of their members grew up in Boston. And so he speaks English and I think I have a shot if I ever heard me. That's the logic.
He's on the list.
Yeah, he's on the list. He's on my laminated card.
Got it.
And then Gen 3 is BTS, which most people know.
The ARMY.
The ARMY. So I am BTS ARMY, and that's really how I got into K-pop.
Are there ranks in the ARMY?
Probably.
Are you like a general?
No, there's some really hardcore BTS fans. I think I'm probably like maybe a lieutenant if we had to have ranks there.
Yeah.
But I like a lot of the other Gen 3 groups. EXO is another one that's really popular. Yeah. And Red Velvet and like Blackpink would be considered Gen 3.
So there's just been an onset of popularity around these artists.
Yes.
What do you, as someone who's followed this for a number of years, what do you attribute that to?
I just went to a Gen 5 concert. So these kids, like when I say kids,
like lower Gen Z.
Yeah, they're I think the oldest one in this group, it was Ampersand 1. I think the oldest one is 19. So I'm like literally twice their age. It was funny because it was me, my husband, and my two of my best friends who were both in their 50s.
Okay.
One of them it was her very first K-pop concert. And so when I say this is a fairly new group, so they're playing at a community college in Charlotte. They're going to these really small theaters all around the country to get their name out. And I say the story in the sense of looking at it from the lens of my friend, who's a 54-year-old white woman at this K-pop concert and watching her experiences for the first time. The way that I can encapsulate it is what I call like the beauty of Delulu Land. As in like you get into this space and it's just good vibes. Like everyone is really friendly. There was another girl, I think she was probably 14, who was behind us, and it was her first K-pop concert. And K-pop fans know that when you go to concerts that you're supposed to give gifts to the other fans and stuff. Like Swifties have their bracelets.
They have the bracelets, which I just learned about the bracelets. It's associated to the various eras of Taylor or a particular lyric. Makes a whole lot of sense. So then this means something to me. I'm going to hand it to you.
Yes.
There's a version of this with K-pop.
But I think K-pop was probably before Taylor Swift did it. I don't know that for sure. You can go fact check that. K-pop fans have done, like, that's part of the culture. That's been part of the culture for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think in just like in Asian culture in general, the way that I can attribute it to is it would be similar to people who are big fans of Pokemon cards or Magic cards. If you have a group of people that you like that you trade, it's like that in K-pop, and they've been doing that since.
Interesting. Are there actual cards to K-pop?
There are.
Okay, there are.
There are. So there is merch that large companies make, and so whenever there is an album release, they usually also release all of this other merch and like photo. And so there are actually events where people get together and they have baseball cards or basketball cards or whatever. Right. They'll have binders of K-pop.
Conferences where they trade in real time.
Yeah.
This is very educational for me.
Yeah. When you say conference, that's probably a strong word for it. It's like
it's a gathering.
Last time I went to one of those, it was a bunch of adorable teenage girls at what used to be a Denny's. Big
conference somewhere.
And like K-Con, they would do stuff like that.
K-Con. What is K-Con?
I have not been to it yet. I'm planning to go this year.
Okay.
But K-Con is like the conference for K-pop, and it's been going on for years it's been in LA, but they also do it in other cities. So they have it in like Dubai and they have it in Japan.
This is amazing.
It's great because it's it tends to be now newer groups that go there. The bigger groups are probably too big for KCON. But what's been cool in the last couple of years is, for example, that group that I mentioned, Shiny, they've been around for 15 years now, but they're still in their 30s because they started out really young. And one of their members went solo and he performed last year. I'm really excited for it. It'll be my first fan experience of going to KCON, but they also have what's in a lot of Asian music shows. They have their own version of the MTV Movie Awards. And so they have every year, there's a bunch of award shows at the end of the year that are basically KCONs, but
get it.
Fancy.
So this is all very intriguing to me because you're proving out the hypothesis here that superfans drive culture, but more importantly, they drive travel.
Yes.
And ticket sales.
Yes.
Attention sports fans, teams, and leagues, whether it's the season opener, playoffs, or the championship game, BookSeats.com makes getting there a breeze. With BookSeats, you can customize your ultimate sports travel package by bundling game tickets, flights, and hotels all in one easy-to-use platform. No hassle, no stress. Just you, the team, and the game day excitement. For professional sports organizations, BookSeats.com offers B2B solutions to create exclusive fan travel packages, increase fan engagement, build loyalty, and make every away game feel like home field advantage with professionally curated travel experiences. From diehard fans to professional leagues, BookSeats.com is your go-to partner for game-changing travel. Visit BookSeats.com today and make your next sports trip unforgettable. BookSeats, your all-access pass to the ultimate sports travel experience.
Let's shift into that a bit. Like when you hear about a tour coming out for one of these K-pop artists, what is the process that you go through? Because you've been to how many concerts?
K-pop concerts?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know, like a dozen maybe of those, but
in shows in general, you're a music lover, so you've been to quite a few.
Yeah. But the challenge with K-pop concerts is that they only go to a handful of cities in the US typically, especially if it's a larger group. And they'll always, I don't know. I would love if someone from these large Korean companies I would love to consult y'all because there has to be a better strategy around this, because someone looks at the map and says, okay, we're going to go West Coast, somewhere in the middle and East Coast. And somehow like all of these K-pop fans just have to like swarm into these 4 or 5 cities a lot of times, unless like even in the last couple of years, maybe a larger group. I would even take that back. Even Blackpink, who just announced their tour this past week, it's only going to 3 cities.
Which ones?
Going to LA, New York, and somewhere in the middle.
Probably Las Vegas?
No, they're not going to Las Vegas.
They're not.
Yeah, which is frustrating for me because I would love for them.
So typically when they do the routing for a particular tour, it's really based on venue size.
Yes.
So you graduate from arenas to stadiums, smaller cap venues, those type of things. And depending on if it's a full world tour, they will select a city or destination with the right amount of seating, essentially.
Yeah, like BTS, like I saw them at SoFi and I saw them at Allegiant in Vegas and I saw them at Giant Stadium in New York.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're selling out stadiums.
So your beef is with the selection of the destinations, because there should be more.
There should be more because I don't live in any. So that's my personal thing. I don't live in any of those cities. So I always have to travel for these concerts. But also, I'm saying this as someone like a 40-year-old woman who has reached a certain level of like financial freedom that I can do that.
Right.
But
which is key.
I think my other gripe about it though too is because, and I've talked about this on my own media, where vast majority of K-pop fans, even though it's very diverse and there's older women and men and whatever, but it is younger women and they're dropping thousands of dollars and putting it on credit cards because one, they're announcing the tours a month, 6 weeks out. And it's definitely strategic to cause people to have that scarcity mindset of the rush and like the FOMO and all of that. But also I just looked at J-Hope concert tickets, for example, and the seats that just opened up because he sold them out that they open up the extra section that's obstructed.
Yeah.
They're still $250 before taxes and fees. And that's not including having to get the flight and the hotel rooms. It's easily $1,000 every time you go to one of these concerts. And for someone who's like just starting out their career or not even
it's a big investment.
Working, it's a lot of money.
Yes.
And they will buy all the merch and they will buy all the light sticks. So it's a lot of money to be a K-pop fan.
No, and if they're going to these major cities, whether it's New York, Las Vegas, or Los Angeles, those ticket prices are more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like when you look at an NBA team, Madison Square Garden, very expensive, but we can go to Cleveland and see the same teams play over there for probably a fourth of the price, right? I think what you're saying resonates in that if they had more of these affordable destinations, that would help out the fan experience.
It's been interesting for me. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and there's been two larger K-pop groups that's come to Charlotte.
Okay.
Which was like very exciting for people because it usually goes to Atlanta. If it's going to go somewhere, it's going to go to Atlanta, which is still a 4-hour drive. And it was TXT, which is a 4th gen group. They're the baby brothers of BTS. So I love them also. And so I was so excited that I could literally walk to the venue from where I lived, which I've never been able to do for a K-pop concert.
Wow.
And what's lovely about K-pop concerts too is that the fans, to your point, create these experiences. So every K-pop concert, there is some local group that's organizing a random dance play. Have you seen one of these?
No, but I've heard that for Taylor and a few others, and actually this is a movement from in the travel industry from the destination perspective, that they're trying to gauge these various tours and then creating activations around it. So whether it's a bracelet trading workshop or they completely theme the buses and the taxis and all these things as Taylor or a K-pop artist, this is a new movement. Apparently in this culture of K-pop, this is something that's already been happening.
There's this thing called random dance play because every K-pop song has a specific choreography.
Oh, yeah, because they're like a machine, the way that they produce these groups.
Yeah.
And so choreography is a core kind of asset for all of this.
Yeah. So the random dance play is essentially someone will organize where they put a playlist together of 30-second clips of random K-pop songs. And so they'll play it and then people have to go and do the choreography on the spot. And
wow.
So, yeah.
And people are good.
And people are amazing.
Yeah.
They literally will hear 2 beats of a song and be like, okay, I know the entire choreography of this song. And it's not easy choreography. And I think that is obviously a very key part of K-pop is the choreography. Taylor Swift isn't known for her dancing, right? So
correct.
What's interesting is that I've always wondered why aren't there brand activations around the random dance plays because it is organically organized, but it's like hundreds and hundreds of people.
Sure. It's like a flash mob that could actually do that. It's like a flash mob,
but it's like highly choreographed and like highly, like the people's costumes are like all over the place.
Right. It's not like Thriller where everyone can do it. This is you have to be a super fan to understand it.
Yeah. And what was interesting to me was it coming to Charlotte for the first time. The buzz in Charlotte was, y'all, we have to show up and do our best so that they'll bring other acts here.
Right.
Otherwise, if they see that it's not sold out, if they see that people aren't showing up early and like doing all the things that like a normal concert does, the fear was that
they wouldn't come back. Yeah.
But then this past year, one of the biggest girl groups came this year. So that was cool.
Okay. So you've established yourself as a super fan. So are you part of a fan club?
What's funny is that my husband is actually in the fan club.
Where is AJ? I thought he was coming.
I know.
But
he's actually the holder of our, because they're expensive. So we're like, we don't necessarily need both of us to be in it. So he's the one who manages our like accounts and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's the one who's actually official BTS ARMY.
So, but you still hear through osmosis, obviously. What are some of the challenge? There's obviously a ton of benefits, whether it's meet and greet, early access, special seating. I guess those are the benefits. But what are some of the challenges you have with being in the fan club? Like, I think there's a lot of emphasis put on access and whether or not they deliver on that access to a fan club member is one piece. But in the ticket buying process, what do you experience?
There's always like a language challenge because all the original information tends to come out in Korean first. And then Google Translate usually isn't great for it. And then if they do translate it, it's like it doesn't quite translate well enough for you to understand what's happening.
It's not localized.
Yeah.
It's translated, but it's not localized to where if there's any slang terms or any particular things that would
So like as a prime example, last week when we went to the smaller group.
Okay.
My husband surprised me. I didn't know we were going to a K-pop concert. And he paid extra money because there was a high touch experience. And so we were like, we don't know what that means.
Okay.
Like high touch could mean, what does high touch mean? And probably in Korea, that's probably like a known term. Probably.
Okay.
And so what happened at the end of the concert is we got like sound check early, which that was to be expected. But we're like, what is this high touch thing? And so they gathered everyone who had this color bracelet and we all had to wait. And I thought that we would have some sort of like signing or something like that. So I bought like posters or whatever. High touch was literally like, we got to high five them and then on our way out. And that was it.
That's cool. But no photo with them.
And you're not allowed to take a photo with them in that one. So that we have to pay more. There's different levels for that. So when I say on the ticketing experience, it's not clear what each of those are like. Where does it begin and end on what's the next level and the next level and the next level? That always seems to be very unclear.
Okay. What do these levels typically cost?
The high touch experience, I think, was an extra like $50 or something like that. But it went up to an extra $250, $300. Right. But this is for a group that just formed.
Yeah. This is not for BTS or Blackpink.
BTS would be like tens of thousands of dollars at this point. Like, and you're definitely not allowed to touch. So that's always a challenge. I think what is frustrating for a lot of people is as fans or fan club members, you're supposed to get priority seating, but like when Ticketmaster opens up, a lot of the seats are already gone. And it's where did those tickets go? And people just don't understand that. But I think what I don't understand why it's not translated here is in Korea, to my understanding, is that you literally cannot transfer ticket. And so if you're really a fan club member, then you have to buy the ticket. And if you don't go, you don't go. Versus here, somehow people are still getting the fan club access and then reselling them for double, triple the price, which really pisses me off as not even for myself, but like for other people who truly can't afford it, like who are real fans who are not getting the access to it. That's incredibly frustrating, which is, it should be mitigated by the fact that you need to have an ID and a number. Like in Korea, like you're supposed to show your photo ID that matches your
I did
ticket.
not realize that they're that strict on the transferring rules in Korea.
Really strict about it.
Versus here, first of all, you have to go through the Ticketmaster verified fan system. And then you can you still have to qualify to be able to transfer the ticket if you resell it. But they do prefer that you do it on Ticketmaster resell when you do it. But setting the price is a whole nother situation. So have you experienced that where you were trying to get a resale ticket and it was just like, come on? Elevate your travel business with Victory Live, the platform featuring $6 billion in professional sports, concerts, festivals, and theater inventory, including Broadway hits, Las Vegas shows, and top events like Coachella and the Super Bowl. With global content sourced directly from rights holders or approved ticket brokers, Victory Live offers net rates, seamless API connectivity, white label solutions, and a B2B portal for travel agents. Visit victorylive.com for more information and tell them that the Tickets to Travel podcast sent you.
Hate dynamic pricing.
Oh, here we go.
Really hate dynamic pricing. It to me, it's such a racket. But
it is. It's taken from actually hotels in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
So you have demand coming in and limited amounts of inventory. As certain percentages of that inventory gets utilized, prices go up. Now, the percentages of how it goes up is never really clear to anybody because you're looking at a screen trying to purchase or a phone trying to purchase. So it's not really defined. But what has been your experience? Because obviously I've already heard it from Taylor Swift fans and others on the on sale date, which is you're thinking you're going to get the premium stuff if you got 7 tabs open and you're ready to go.
And which we have. We have a routine is me and my husband are BTS fans. My best friend is also a BTS fan. I have another friend and my sister-in-law are GOT7 fans, which is another group. And then we have another set of friends who are like Blackpink fans. And so anyway, anytime there's any of those, we just have a thing where it's like, we'll help each other out and all of us will get online at the same time and someone will grab the tickets. So it's, there's one BTS concert in particular that I literally had so much anxiety that I just gave up on the process. I'm like, I'm just going to wait till the resale tickets go up because it was too chaotic. It was too much. But I think what we've been noticing recently with a lot of the soloists coming out is I understand that this is not correct logic, but the tickets to see one of the BTS members being more expensive than seeing all 7, like just doesn't.
That doesn't compute to you, but does he arguably have more followers? No. Really?
No. He's one of the least popular. No.
So they're just pricing him out for whatever.
Well, I think it's because since BTS has gotten into the actual army, the military, dynamic pricing only became a lot more prevalent in the last, at least, I don't know, from what I understood.
Yeah, a few years.
Yeah. And from the time that BTS last toured together, which is like back in 2022, like all 7 of them, the prices have tripled and we're not even getting all of them. Why would I do that? I'm just going to wait. And really the conversation I've had with other BTS fans, like, we're just going to wait until all 7 are back. If we're going to spend that much money, then, which then sucks for the soloist. He's like out here now.
I can see why that would be frustrating. Because what's the average ticket price that you're seeing? And then what do you typically get? So, I know you're different than others, but like just from your experience. Yeah.
I mean, we always go and check on the day of to see if it's worth it. When we first look at the J-Hope ones, there were like tickets going for like $1,500. But then since then it's died down a little bit. So I was able to look at tickets for like $250. Okay. Yeah. So it's.
But these are bleeders?
But these are like obstructed view. Okay. Because they opened up after everything sold out. And the anchor in my brain is, well, I saw all of BTS 2 nights in Las Vegas for less than, you know, so it's like hard to reconcile that, you know, as someone who's, I don't know, the equivalent would be like for New Kids on the Block fans, because I know your cousin is a New Kids on the Block fan, where you're going to pay more just to see
Jordan.
Not even Jordan would be a good to see more if you saw.
I don't know where they rank anymore.
Donnie or
Donnie. Donnie's kind of
popular too. With the other guy.
The guy who Chris or remember
his name. That's what I'm saying. It would be like it would be like him going on solo. It'd be like, but it's like triple the price. And like it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. How do you tell the guy he's the discounted new kid?
Yeah, he's Jordan's brother, right? No.
Oh, that
John.
Yes.
Yes. It'd be like seeing John. Just like why? Why would you do that?
That's a parallel I didn't think I would understand or think that I would hear today, but I understand. I get it. That's
times 5, but you have to pay 5 times the price. That's like basically what's happening right now.
Okay. So that's frustrating. When the on sale happens or you have a resale, you have it. Now, pivoting, you have to travel to all of these. Yes. So what is your preference in terms of lodging when you're going to see a K-pop band?
Yeah. Ideally, I want to be walking distance from the venue. But I've traveled to New York, Atlanta, LA, and Vegas for these concerts. And I just came back from Vegas. And it is a core memory of mine that, you know, obviously all the hotel prices got completely jacked up in Vegas.
Of course.
And we stayed at the Link. So Vegas, like the Link isn't anything fancy. And it was like $600 a night. And because it was so congested, we had to walk from the Link to Allegiant Stadium, which is not.
That's not close.
It's not close. And it's the desert. I had to stop every couple minutes just to so that by the time I got to the concert, I wasn't drenched in sweat. It was physically challenging. So I was like, oh, I'm so glad all of these other girls are so much younger than me that they can do this. And they have the wherewithal. And also because they're all wearing a lot less clothing. I mean, they're like out in their like cute little tops and stuff. And
also people should know it's tough to get to Allegiant because you have to cross the highway.
Yeah, it's not like you're walking on like sidewalks. Like you're literally walking across a highway. They had to block off the street because there's so many.
No, and I heard something. People. So it's a big deal, obviously, when the NFL schedule comes out for the Raiders, and the hotels obviously withhold rates or they block it out until the schedule comes out. But think about it. Once you actually have a room and you're there, you got like 60,000 seats in that stadium. There's probably 3,000 parking spots.
Yes. If that.
You're forced to walk across the bridge from MGM or Luxor and either park there or stay there. That's why even Excalibur rooms are like through the roof versus where you stayed is probably in the middle of the strip, like directly across from Caesars.
I try to have a positive mindset about these things. And so what was fun was that Vegas did pay homage to BTS. Everything was purple. Even Bellagio and stuff was all playing like BTS music. And so that was fun. And there is something about crossing over the highway with a bunch of other random people who are all wearing the same stuff.
Getting pumped for the show. That's Las Vegas. I think that's a very unique destination. Los Angeles is a lot different.
Yeah. We went to some of them at SoFi.
Okay. Did you stay it's in Inglewood, right?
Yeah.
because most of the hotel product, if people don't know these destinations, it's really by the airport.
Yes.
If you want to stay in West Hollywood, you're going to pay $1,000 a night. Did you stay at a hotel or did you get an Airbnb?
We stayed at a hotel. It was like a Hampton Inn or something like that.
Yeah.
That level. And it was probably like 25 minutes from the venue, which then turned into an hour and a half or whatever. Because the Ubers can't even drop you off anywhere close. So they just drop you off in some like random place and then you still have to walk another 30 minutes. And then it's Englewood. And so like when the concert is done, we're like, okay, let's make sure that we're all together. Whatever. We figured it out because I think there's like a casino or like some sort of thing around SoFi. So we went for 2 nights.
Okay.
And the first night we made the mistake of like trying to call our Uber and they could never find us. And there's like a billion cars and
there's
stuff.
Just a concentration of requests and the surge pricing goes up.
But then the second night we got real smart and we walked another 20, 25 minutes in the direction of whatever that building was. And then we got picked up from that lobby instead. And that was like a much smoother thing. But like, it was like military. Like, we're like, okay, like we're like, don't lose each other. Cause again, there's so many fans or whatever. And we're like, okay, everyone walk in that direction and walk as quickly as possible.
Okay. So that's Las Vegas, LA. When you come here to New York, Meadowlands, right?
MetLife now.
MetLife. But do you stay in Manhattan and we'll take the bus or a train over? How does that work?
Done it where...
Because you're going to help millions possibly of fans trying to maneuver this.
A lot of my friends live here in New York, so we'll usually stay at one of their places. But they live in Long Island or like Queens, which is, it's another, again, 2-hour ride because we have to take the Long Island Railroad. We have to take an Uber to the Long Island Railroad, from Long Island Railroad to the New Jersey Transit, and then still walk all the way to the Meadowlands. For BTS, I stayed in Newark.
Okay.
And we had to take the train one stop over, which is way better. But again, one of my fond memories of that though too was like none of us could figure out where the train was like for the concert. And so there was just a bunch of us just singing randomly in the dark. We're like, we don't know where we are or whatever, but we're all together.
But you're all together and you just had a great time.
Yeah. And random people that we've never met before.
And you said core memories. Is that the vibe at these concerts where everybody is just, you have this common love for the artist? Some of you have come a long way to see them. Is every fan just so welcoming and with open arms? And that's probably one of the reasons why you are super fans. Just the community is so welcoming.
It's funny because I have my own business and my husband have talked about the fact that we want to cultivate this kind of community based off of what we've seen in K-pop.
Wow.
Yeah. Like I actually did a presentation. I did a business presentation, was like business lessons I've learned from K-pop. And this was a time before people really knew who BTS was, like at least here in the US. And I remember doing this presentation and explaining to people BTS, the only other artist this year that grossed more than them was Ed Sheeran.
Wow.
And so they're like number 2 in terms of like overall revenue for concerts and stuff. And so I've learned so much from them about marketing and branding and operations and stuff. But also when it comes to this idea of a third space, like your first space is your home, your second space is usually your work or your school. For K-pop fans, like this culture is their third space. It's where they feel like they belong. It's like where they don't feel judged. There are like fan wars and stuff like that where like certain groups are like, I don't like your group because whatever.
Do they manufacture like almost like wrestling?
Yeah. Like for example, there was like some manufactured beef where aespa and New Jeans supposedly had beef or whatever, but then the artists squashed it themselves by doing videos together and saying, that has nothing to do with it.
That's like, big. How do you typically book your travel when you're looking at going to these concerts?
Yeah. So we've figured out once the dates are announced that we just book the hotel first and then we'll figure out the ticket situation later.
But the idea is, you're going there for them, but you want to get ahead of the rates, essentially?
Yeah, for the hotels. And since I do a lot of business travel, I often can use my points for the flights and stuff. But I'll take a recent example. We went to the Mama Awards, which was like my dream. For me, I was like, I feel like I'm going to the Grammys or the Oscars.
Essentially, it is.
And it was in West Hollywood. And like we booked the hotel long before we even understood like what was happening. Once we heard that what the dates were, we're booking and it was like 8 months.
Smart.
Or something. Yeah.
Yeah, that's smart because most hotels will have at least a year out in advance. This is one of the reasons why we're bringing awareness to it, because even hoteliers don't understand these various cultures and what type of demand is going to come in. So
I think there's a lot of missed opportunity.
Totally. Because what they'll typically do is like, I think they're popular, and then they'll just block it out versus doing regular revenue management techniques, right? Where you scale down the rate and then you generate demand and then you raise the rate as same thing like dynamic pricing on tickets, but from a hotel perspective. And so we're trying to educate them to understand that these are real fans. This is real demand and they're traveling specifically for this. And so they need to be able to have these various activations in the lobby and so on and so forth, welcome them in and make sure that the next time they come back, because they will come back, that they're going to get that business.
Yeah.
And so what are some of the things you think, and I know you probably thought about this a while, what do you think from a superfan's perspective, both ticketing companies and travel or hotels, airlines should be thinking about around targeting someone like yourself?
What's hard to understand about K-pop culture is like the parasocial relationship is like another level than anything I've seen in American culture. Like when Swifties say that they're fans of like Taylor Swift, it's not the same as like people who are fans of K-pop fans, because K-pop artists are good or bad, however you want to look at it, are cultivating this relationship where it really feels like you know them because like they're live streaming all the time and they're like eating dinner with you, or they're like showing them. They're like, oh, I had a really hard day today. And here's what Taylor Swift doesn't do that. She doesn't, she's not online chronically. And like, she's actually very private about her personal life. And if you see anything about her personal life, it's definitely manufactured by her publicity. Whereas K-pop fans, like it feels like you really know them.
So they're constantly streaming. Is that a product of the company, or they're saying, hey, you're required to be on? I mean, I'm sure they do it to engage the fans.
No, there's definitely a requirement that they have to be on a certain amount of time. And so some of the best moments, like as a prime example, was when we were at Meadowlands, now MetLife, is when we were all lost and we couldn't figure out where we were going. Someone yelled, oh, Jin's streaming right now. And so one of the members was back in his hotel room after the concert, like eating noodles. And so we're all like on the train watching him eat noodles. And we're like, we just saw him like half an hour ago.
He's just decompressing, but puts the phone up and brings you into his world.
Yeah. So the scary thing why I'm bringing this up is that K-pop fans can be like crazy. There's this term called sasang, which is like, it's like somewhat like it's a K-pop fan that's gone like too far, like basically like the borderline stalking and like that kind of stuff. And people will look at like the curtains or like the composition of the room and figure out what hotel they're staying in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Scary.
Yeah. Scary, but also one of my friends, she's not going to say she's a sasang, but she figured out that BTS was staying at Intercontinental. And so that's where she always books now. And so at KCON, a lot of the K-pop artists stay there.
Okay.
And so like the fans will just be hanging out in the lobby, just waiting. But the nice thing is most K-pop fans are very respectful. They're not going to try to touch you or whatever, or try to bother you, but they just want to see you.
So hold on a second. They're seeing a photo of maybe Jin in his hotel room. They're scouring online travel sites to find the photo that matches that particular hotel.
They know like it's going to be somewhere in New York, for example, or it's going to be whatever, right?
Yeah.
But, like there's like kind of like, I remember
that actually wouldn't be that hard to do.
No, it wouldn't be, especially because sometimes the K-pop, the artist will mess up and there'll be like a menu or something on the table and stuff. And it's like game over. It's like literally game over. Like within 30 minutes, some fans will be downstairs.
Okay.
So I think there is like both there is a opportunity for like better security probably at these hotels, but also like K-pop artists are pretty good about interacting with their fans when they are in public or whatever. So if they know, I have another friend who she's really good at figuring out where stuff is happening. And again, she's respectful and stuff. But to your point of having the brand activations to say, here's a welcome bag or here's photo cards, or we're going to host a photo card trading event like in our lobby and stuff. I was really personally very frustrated with my hometown in Charlotte of like when TXT came, that there was nothing going on in the city that capitalized on that. Even like the Korean restaurants, they could have
They didn't do anything.
They didn't do anything. And it was like, there's like a Korean restaurant that's like very close to the venue. I was like, are they dumb? They would sell out so fast. Their marketing team is messing this up.
Falling asleep at the wheel.
Yeah. And so something so simple for a lot of these hotels would to be partnering with these local Korean small businesses and bringing the food or the culture. Because what happens with K-pop too is like a lot of people spill over into like then K-food and K-beauty and K-dramas and stuff. And so there's a lot of opportunity for like really fun innovation.
I think a misconception as well is that, I mean, I'll ask you, when you go to one of these shows, how much of the crowd, the audience is American versus Korean American or just people who are like, what do you actually see there as a mix? Because I think, you know, destinations in general, they don't really know the cultures as well. So they don't want to offend anybody. But I think like it's so ingrained in overall sort of pop culture at this point that it wouldn't be hard to create something around these events.
As a prime example, like the concert I went to, which was only like 100-ish people, again, a very small group, me and my husband and my friend, maybe 2 other people were the only ones who were Asian.
Really? Okay.
Which is, people would be pretty surprised by that. And we're not, none of us, and the 3 of us, none of us are Korean.
Yeah.
When I looked around, because I don't know if anyone else experiences like as a minority person, like if you go into a room, you like immediately like just scan the room, right, to see who else might look like you. And in that room, it was like very few people. It was a lot of Latino and Black and white, of course. But my friend had pointed it out. She said, there's not a lot of Asian people here. And I'm like,
so it's a multicultural experience at this point, at least from an American perspective.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But there is the common, I would say, respect and love of Korean culture.
Okay.
While we were waiting for our high touch, high five thing, people are overhearing us chat or whatever. And then we start talking about like our favorite Korean food and we start talking about like our favorite dramas and stuff. And so there's so many fun cultural things that people could do around it. And food is such an easy one. Super easy one. And because like, for example, like Squid Game is so popular, but one of the BTS concerts, one of the members dressed like Squid Game, like in the concert. And like, even if you don't follow K-pop, a lot of people know Squid Game. Right.
So there's all this crossover opportunity, obviously. Back to the hotels, though. So you were talking about there should always be karaoke.
I had to say that.
No.
That's a layup.
Thing. Yeah, that's real easy to say.
You just have to throw up some videos on the screens up there. I don't just know why that's so hard.
No, it shouldn't be. Yeah. You should have a separate business just consulting on
That's
K-pop.
What I'm saying. Hire me. I'm really good at this.
No, you're demonstrating that. I'm so glad you're here in New York. Not at the Meadowlands, but like here. From a hotel perspective, security is probably key. Just being conscious or maybe giving other activation spots, these type of trading card areas. What else are your thoughts on the ticketing side? Because we started off talking about fan club and access and getting verified and being able to transfer the ticket. But what would make this, is it more communication to the fans?
When the most recent BTS member that had a concert going up, and mind you, in our group, we have a group from a Korean tour. We all met in South Korea and became friends, and we live all over the country. None of us live in the same cities, and there's 20-ish of us. I did not look at the chat for 24 hours. I came back to 179 messages of all of them trying to figure out. They could not figure out when the tickets were going to go on sale, how they're going to purchase it. What are some tips on how to make sure you find the best tickets? It was just a mess. And that's not a great way to start off your experience. And then ultimately, most of the people didn't end up getting the tickets.
Really? Then they're waiting for the resale, but a lot of them will be priced out.
Yes. We'll end up being priced out. The misconception about K-pop that I've seen is like while yes, there's a lot of young fans, there are a lot of older fans. And I've been at concerts where, you know, like it's the most adorable thing where there's like, we say like ajumas and like
generational. So grandmother.
Like 67-year-old women going to these BTS concerts, not because they're here with their like granddaughter, they're there
for themselves.
And so imagine these hoops that these people are having to figure out technologically and otherwise to do that. But what I also think is interesting is with the ticketing stuff, again, I think why I'm probably so frustrated with it is because I know it's possible because knowing what the system is in Korea. Granted, obviously it's a much smaller country and whatever, but they sell out stadiums in Korea too. And And if you watch Korean or Japanese concerts, it's so much more organized, just generally speaking.
Yeah, a lot of that stems from the artists themselves and the promoter for it. So like even in the case of here in the States, when people are arguing about the ticket prices for, let's say, Taylor Swift, or she's getting the majority of that fee. And so almost that extra fee that Ticketmaster takes on the chin as, hey, it's your problem. It does come from the promoter and the artist themselves. I think culturally in Korea, they understand that they want everybody to come. And so I think that's why it's more organized versus here you have how much money are you going to make from it? So even if you found a solution through a reseller to cater to the super fan for a K-pop here, they're still all trying to make a buck.
Yeah.
So
and I think
the demand itself will just expand.
And I think that the challenge with that, with like the K-pop culture is, and again, it's like very collectivist, Asian type of environment is like, that is so against the grain of the culture itself. Like I said, like people spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars just to make these things to give out to random strangers. So to feel like, you know, I'm getting price gouged for being like a true fan, like it hits a little bit differently than, and I'm like, I've been just a music fan in general. And it feels, sounds silly, but like I could almost understand it for, like I went to Beyonce, like I expected it there, but
not in the K-pop world. Is it true? I think I read about this, but I think Hybe America is now doing their own promoter deals. They're not really using Live Nation. So it could be shifting. It could be shifting to where it's more culturally relevant to what they're used to in Korea. I don't know that for sure.
And I'm curious to see if anything once I realized that essentially Scooter Braun and Justin Bieber and Ariana Grande are essentially under Hybe label now. It was like, whoa, like they're really big.
They're a huge company now.
They're really big. So it's going to be interesting to see how I'm hoping that some of the Korean practices actually would filter in the other direction, not just become more Americanized.
It remains to be seen, but that's an interesting point. We should all keep an eye on that.
I saw somewhere that Hybe, the CEO of Hybe, actually views like Hybe as a technology company.
So maybe they'll have their own ticketing at some point. But
he said that.
Yeah.
He's put it out there. And me coming from the finance world, like I would really love to see more of the blockchain technology be in ticketing. Because to me, tickets are the prime example of a blockchain, like where that technology makes sense. There's
verifiable ownership.
Yeah. And there's only there's only this one seat that exists that isn't any other seat because it's, even if it's like right next to the other one. So it would make sense to do that. So I don't understand why that's not already implemented.
Oh, there's a lot of reasons why.
Yeah. But that's why I think it's always so interesting. That seems like a very logical use case for that type of technology.
So to wrap things up, like what's the dream travel destination to see BTS? Is it Korea? Is it Seoul? Or would you see them in another exotic destination?
I'll see them in any destination.
That was a loaded question. You're like, I'll go anywhere for them.
So the last BTS member is supposed to be discharged from the army in the summer.
Okay.
And there's talk already that they're probably going to do a tour in 2026. It seems likely. And so I turned 40 yesterday and
happy birthday.
Thank you. But I've been telling people that I am retiring truly because like I teach personal finance stuff. But the only reason that I haven't like fully retired is because I'm a BTS fan because that is expensive. So I'm saving up I've already hit my financial independence number, but now I have to add like my BTS amount of money that I need to spend.
So you just want to up level what you're doing now.
I want to go I got inspired. I met someone who really loved, I can't remember which group it was. It was like Green Day, something like that.
Okay.
And he went wherever they went.
Yeah.
And so I was like, 1 year of my life, I'm just going to
follow them.
Follow them.
It's kind of like Grateful Dead or Fish.
Yeah.
I feel like K-pop's an interesting one because you're speaking to an audience where there are different levels of this travel and ticketing thing where you could do very premium experiences. Have you done one of those? Would you do one of them?
I would do one of them. I finally got even though I love all of the stuff, I'm still very frugal. And going back to your question of like, ideal destination, like I haven't been to Thailand yet. And so I'd love to see them in Thailand.
Yeah.
I'm considering going to Barcelona. They always stop in Spain and they always stop in Mexico City. So Mexico City would be an easy one, but I really should and need to plan to see them in the Philippines because that's like where.
That's okay. That makes a whole lot of sense. Have you been back?
I have not been back. I'm going later this year.
Are you? Did you grow up there?
No. My husband was born in the Philippines, but I was born here. But he left when he was like 2.
Oh, interesting.
Back in a long time. But Filipinos are huge K-pop fans.
No doubt. I mean, the big Olivia Rodrigo show there.
Oh my God.
So
yeah. The prime example, right?
Okay.
If you will price gouge my fan.
Yeah.
So possible.
Well, it wasn't a libation show.
It was in the Philippines. That's
yes,
right.
It was in the Philippines. Thank you for spending some time with us here on Tickets to Travel. Superfans, huge subject.
Mm-hmm.
And I thank you for bringing your experience.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yes. If there's one thing we've learned from Bernadette Joy's journey as a K-pop superfan, it's that the fandom isn't just about music. It's about movement, literal movement, across cities, states, and even international borders. For travel professionals, this is a golden opportunity. K-pop fans just don't attend concerts. They plan entire trips around them. They book flights, hotels, and local experiences, all in the name of seeing their favorite artists live. But if you're not actively thinking about these fans when setting rates, planning activations, or choosing which cities get premium experiences, you're leaving money on the table. Hotels. These fans aren't just looking for a bed. They're looking for an experience. They want K-pop themed welcome kits, dedicated fan meetup spaces, and partnerships with local businesses selling Korean food and merch. They want to feel like they belong the moment they check into your property. If your hotel isn't offering something unique, they'll book at another property that does. Destinations and venues, there's demand beyond just LA and New York. K-pop fans are showing up everywhere. So why aren't more markets bidding to bring these tours to new locations? The fan base will travel, but only if you make it worth their while. And for ticketing professionals, Bernadette's experience highlights some of the serious pain points. Lack of transparency. Fans don't just want to buy a ticket. They want to understand what they're paying for. What does a high-touch experience really include? What's the actual value behind different ticket tiers? If the process isn't clear, frustration builds, and that's not the fan experience you want to create. Like pricing pitfalls. We get it, supply and demand. But when obstructed view seats are going for $1,500 and resale markets are driving prices through the roof, it kills the loyalty of real fans. Ticketing companies need to rethink how they balance profitability with accessibility, scalping, and transfers. In Korea, K-pop ticketing is locked down. Your ticket is tied to your ID. But in the US, the secondary market is out of control. The industry needs to find a middle ground that prevents price gouging while still allowing legitimate ticket transfers. At the end of the day, what Bernadette's story tells us is this. K-pop fans aren't just an audience. They're a loyal customer base. The travel and ticketing industries need to stop treating them as an afterthought and start building real strategies to support them. Because trust me, these fans are spending, and they will happily spend where they feel valued. All right, that's it for today's episode of Tickets to Travel, the business of travel experiences. If you've learned something new today, make sure you subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who needs to understand the power of superfans. Until next time, plan ahead, price fairly, and remember, the fans will travel if you give them a reason to. Safe travels.
Attention travel and ticketing innovators. Whether you're a startup disrupting the industry or an established company ready to take your distribution strategy to the next level, Expo Travel is your ultimate partner in online travel and ticketing distribution. We specialize in helping businesses of all sizes optimize their operations, expand their reach, and unlock new revenue streams. And for startups looking to grow, we partnered with top venture capital syndicates to help you secure the funding you need to turn bold ideas into thriving businesses. From refining businesses to scaling operations and raising capital, Expo Travel is here to drive your success. Visit Expo Travel today. That's xpotravel.com for a consultation. And let's transform the way the world travels, one innovation at a time. Expo Travel, because the future of travel and ticketing starts with you.